Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Bullets and Bourbon. I'm Matt Gunlock, and I'm joined by my good friend Darin Morrell, owner of Red Stitch Targets. So, as most of you know, Darin and I ran the match, the Intergalactic Falling Steel Shootout Championship this past year in September. And, we haven't, we collected some after action points. Some people emailed us, and we're going to talk to some of that. And on top of that, we're going to be talking about the match next year, and dates and all that kind of stuff. So, before we kind of get into all of it, well, I guess we should just get into it, talking about the match from this past year. Darren and I would both agree we hit our metric of match success of hitting over 100 shooters, paid shooters, that is. So that's a good thing. And overall, weather was great. Range facility was very supportive. Lynn and Randy did a great job. Even up to the building of the match, we got a lot of good support. You got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we had, I think Billy and Clifton came down from up in Pennsylvania, and they had just, on their own volunteer came down, and they spent all day that one day, Thursday, I want to say, helping put the whole thing together. Then came back out and kind of helped, as the ROs and a couple of those few people shot on Friday, and then, I mean, they only shot half, two-thirds of the match themselves on Saturday, and they were gassed, but they put in a couple of good hard days of work helping us put it together. Um, so that was very cool of them, very helpful of them. But yeah, facility wise, Lynn and Randy, I mean, everything went good. Very easy to work out there. Everything went off kind of without a hitch. We got things done, got put together. Um, Weather was good for the most part. I mean, there's a couple of those little typical hiccups, like we had those couple of people who'd signed up for a Friday shoot, which we didn't want to do initially, and then we allowed it, and then remember they kind of backed out on us at the very last second, and so we're out there Friday waiting on people who didn't show, who weren't. They decided they were going to shoot the next day, um, kind of a
And
last
then
minute thing, and then I want to say they complained about something too. I don't know if those are the ones who quit halfway through
they
or what
were.
it was, but
They were complaining because I went up to them and told them, "Hey, you guys are a four-man squad. You kind of did this to yourself.
right.
You need to start resetting instead of just having two people reset at a time. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's neither. Yeah,
They quit Friday on the last second and didn't join a squad. They joined their own squad by themselves and then complained that it was going too slow. They just weren't doing it. It's like, well, you did that to yourselves. You're right. And then when you said something to them, the butt hurt was real, and some of them packed it in because for whatever reason that just seemed unnice, I guess, mean. Um, but again, it's like it's at some point you got to be an adult. I mean, you put yourself in that position. I mean, every match I've ever been to, I reset. I reset sometimes, even though I'm the on deck shooter, and I've reset plenty of times, even though I just finished shooting. It's like just help and get through the shit. Um, so anyway, yeah, but I think as far as setup and everything, it went good.
I'd say
Everything.
I'd say overall the resounding majority came up to you and I was like, this was an awesome match. Like we wanna see it again. Like Alex Go King, dude, you covered every type of technique there was, and each stage presented its own challenge, and not one stage had the same challenge. Everything was different, and coming from those guys, like that means a lot because they legitimately go and shoot all different styles of matches, and whenever you can get positive feedback from guys that you know and respect, that lets you know you're doing something right. Now, I mean, not was everybody that shot the match happy? No, but you're always gonna get that.
Sure. And I think it goes back to again like I think we talked about this before where the expectation of what you're getting when people go to a match, especially I would say probably a first year match, you don't know what you're getting. You're kind of taking to some degree a leap of faith to say, well, I'll go shoot this guy's falling steel match. And I know those people who are running, I know the guy who's putting it on, I know the company. You get out there and if your expectation is going to be like a stand and deliver match, or it's going to be a bunch of falling stuff, not a lot of reactive stuff, and you've got to kind of take a leap of faith of what you're actually getting into. And I think some people got out there and it was maybe a little more of a discipline of reactives they didn't like, a little bit more of movement they didn't like, or not enough of something they didn't like. And so I think that might have colored some of the opinions that some people might have had about it. I think overall, it was a good I could call it a good first effort. And at the same time, like we talked about, at some point last year, I started tempering that back on what we really wanted to do to what we were going to do based on the turnout we were seeing.
Hmm.
And I think we talked about that saying, if you have 250 shooters, you can scale that up, and there's the potential to scale it up to be a much bigger type thing, whether it's the infrastructure, the props, the stages, the everything. But if you start seeing you've got 60, 70, 80 shooters, it's like, well, again, there's no reason to throw out 40K worth of gear when it becomes a kind of a fluffy club match. And so I think to some degree maybe some of that people's expectations maybe were a little skewed, didn't know what they were getting into. I know some people thought it was overly hard um, and unfair to some degree, and I think some of that too is you come out there with an irons pistol, and if you're on a squad with a guy who's a legit shooter running a PCC, if you can't take yourself out of that situation and recognize that that guy's going to run circles around you anyway and
Hmm.
act like, well, this stage was built for PCC. Well, no, it wasn't. It was built for that skill set, and PCCers should do it much faster than someone shooting irons,
Yeah.
just because of mag
Some,
capacity, everything.
and that's what somebody said, that this match was built for PCC shooters. And I can tell everyone right now, I
No,
don't own a PCC. You don't own a
yep,
PCC. I don't think in
right.
terms of PCC.
I don't even
Like
like PCC.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I've classically been an irons guy my
yep,
entire career. It wasn't until this year I finally bought a red dot and
yep,
started shooting a red dot. And
right.
it people, not to take away from anybody, but I think some people have this idea in their head that they're better than what they really are,
Oh, sure,
and
sure.
and so whenever they can't perform or do something, they blame it on the match, which it's gonna happen.
Yeah, and
And I'm
I think
not
that
s-
goes back to,
and I'm not
yeah,
saying we're
again,
perfect. We're
yeah, someone goes out there with their irons, and if it's just a whole squad of irons guys, they're all going to feel good about themselves. About how I crushed that when I did good. But when you all of a sudden mix them into a group that have some optics guys or PCC guys, or even legit, rubbing up against pro shooters, and it doesn't matter what you're shooting. I mean, if you look at some of the stage results, there's optics guys who beat PCC guys in some of the stages, like top
Mhm.
times, and they're all posted on the website now what the finishing was, and you can kind of see, just what the demographic is between irons, optics, PCC as far as times were. You can see the whoever won each stage, and it obviously gets faster when you add optics or add PCC. So I think some people when I see those kind of critiques about it was too hard for irons. How am I supposed to knock down 30 pieces of steel in 30 seconds? And I smile and I think to myself, well, I know for one, plenty of guys did.
Mhm.
And I know plenty of guys who can do it much, much faster. It's just you have to train, you have to go practice. If you want to be that alpha person, well, you have to go out there and spend a ton of money and time and practice.
Yeah,
So
I mean, even the spinners. Yeah, I'll admit those know your limit spinner or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
Um, that's not an easy target, but it is
but
totally
it's not
doable.
hard.
It's totally doable. Like
Yeah,
if you get two solid hits on that target, bottom
yep.
and top, you're going to flip it.
It flips pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
Because it is a small target and it's
yep,
relatively lightweight, and those
yep,
are brass bushings in there that are
yep,
self-lubricating, and it spins well. I mean, I
yep,
have that same target here at the
yep.
house, and that's something I practice on.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it-
we said that. We said earlier, if you've never shot a spinner, you might want to go practice that. And you saw a lot of people showed up at this match who had never shot a spinner, and they're like, "Well, how do I do this?" And right away, that's no different to me than the first time I showed up at a match and saw a Texas Star. I'm like, "Well, how the hell do you do this?" You, if you've never done it, you have to kind of learn on the fly. If you're going to do
yeah.
that at a match for the first time, that's obviously going to hurt your match. And if you let that hurt you emotionally and mentally in your game, again, that's on you.
Hmm.
Um, because we watch too many people. I mean, legit three gunners walk up to that thing and they're like whack, 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 and it's over.
Yeah.
But people who've never shot it, they try to go top, bottom. They've never done it.
And
So,
I will say, like, maybe some of it's the demographic. We had a fair amount of USPSA shooters out there, and nothing to take away from what they do, but they're just so used to seeing paper because,
yep,
quite honestly, and I'll say it, people who shoot USP PSA just want to shoot paper. They want to go fast.
Yep.
Which, if that's what they want to do, fair enough. This match is not for them. But like those guys who shoot multi-gun or branch out and shoot all disciplines, who see the different types of exposures and targets that are out there, they're going to be more well versed in hitting that. And it was, Mike Wang was one of the guys who was leading for the majority of it. He's a legit USPSA
Yeah.
shooter. Unfortunately, his gun, I think he
One
had
state killed him. Yep.
yeah, one thing, messed up and it ruined his match. But,
Yep.
there were the guys who shoot the multiple different types of disciplines, and weapon systems. They're going to rise to the top, because they put in the time and they put in the work. And you make it easier for them, they're going to go faster.
Yeah.
And the guys who are not as good are just, they're going to do better. But if you make it to where, hey, you got to earn your winnings, you got to earn your money, it's going to be a little bit more calculating in what they do. And, one of the things that we talked about, we even brought it up before the match, was it was time plus. So you have one bad stage that can ruin your entire match. It,
And on that note right there, it's like that's still one of those things like for me, I know that a lot of guys don't like that. I know you don't like that.
hmm
I mean, for me, that's one of those things that I don't have a problem with. I mean, if you blow one out your ass and someone else who is, steady and consistent and didn't blow anything out their ass, they should win. And that's exactly what happened. A guy walked away with $1,000 winning that division because he did stay consistent, didn't have a problem. And I get guns breaking, not your problem, but at the end of the day, that can happen to everybody. I watch it happen to you at matches. It's happened to
yeah,
me in matches. And
yeah,
so, I also don't have a problem with that either. But I know that a lot of people don't. I know the reasons why you don't like it. I know we're not doing it again this year.
yeah.
Um, Whatever. Yeah, so whatever. But the one other thing I'd say about like the people who like when you say like USPSAers, and that was the thing that I shot a lot was USPSA, and I know this because I also shot a lot of steel. Um, Shooting steel will make you a better USPSA shooter because everything is an alpha, regardless
hmm
of the shape or the size. Everything is an alpha. There is no misses. There is no tight Charlies.
It's
You
either a
have to
hit or
hit
a
your hit.
miss.
And so if you get in the habit of always shooting steel and always getting hits, you will naturally go fast. When it gets to paper, you'll go super duper fast.
Well, it's
But if
like
you will only shoot paper and trying to come back to steel, it is humbling because you don't know your misses until you walk the stage for scoring afterwards in USPSA. In steel, it laughs at you right then and there.
well, I'll tell you right now, like here at the house, whenever I go over train on the range, I don't shoot paper. The only time I shoot paper is when I'm zeroing a gun. That is
Right.
legitimately the only time I shoot
Sure.
paper. Everything else, I shoot steel. Why? Because
You have to
I
reset it.
I don't have to reset it,
Right.
and everything is an alpha.
It's
I
immediate
can,
feedback. You know you hit it
yeah,
right away, regardless of
yep,
distance.
yeah. So I mean, I don't train nearly as much as I once did, but the training I do put in, it's very deliberate, and
Yeah,
it's, I maximize the time that I do have on the range by just shooting steel.
sure. I mean, there's a time and place for both of them. I mean, if you're practicing for, USPSA World Shooter, whatever the hell it is, I mean, at some point you want to start going back to paper to get in the habit of that presentation of the silhouettes and stuff, and hard cover and all that kind of crap. And I get that, but if you always shoot paper, going back to steel can be humbling, not the other way around so much.
hmm Yeah, I mean, shoot, this is gonna get released what, Monday the 9th, and it's December 8th. So last week, and I was at that the gauntlet match where
Yep.
the majority of the match was nothing but steel. There was paper there for rifle and everything, but the majority of the match was steel. And it was reactive steel and not falling steel. There was
Yeah,
some falling steel, but the majority of the reason why is you do your physical work, you shoot, you
you
do
don't have
your
to reset
physical
it.
work. You don't have to reset, and it's
Yep.
so much quicker. And
Yep.
because I do train on steel, I know what to expect. I know how my guns shoot. I'm used to the dot now. And, I'm a more confident shooter whenever it comes to hitting the steel. And I'm a much faster shooter than the majority of people.
I'd tell you this too. If you shoot steel a lot, especially with rifle, and this might sound funny, but you get that instant feedback because you hear the ring. But if
Yep.
you shoot steel a lot with rifle, you will see it before you
hmm
hear it,
Oh
and you'll
yeah.
know that's it and move on. as opposed to someone new to steel, will listen for it first, and
Yep.
you'll see that impact in your optic. You'll see that impact. You'll see it before you hear it.
Yep.
And once you shot a lot, that's what will make you faster and move on.
Oh, absolutely. Like you look at guys like Joel Turner, Nate Staskowitz, even Alex Goking, like guys that are straight up, three gunners, that are legit shooters. Like they will instantly know they call their shots on the fly, number
Sure.
one. Like they're just good at calling their shots, but two, they know when to apply a follow-up shot.
Right.
And you practice enough, put enough time in, you'll know what feels like a good shot and what doesn't feel like a good shot, and you'll know when to just instantly send another round downrange.
Oh, agreed. And I can tell you the best person I've ever seen doing that is actually James Gill.
Yeah.
I watched him at multiple three-gun matches. Every time it comes to a long-range portion of it, it's impressive to watch how fast he will go through something and have no misses. But when he does, how fast he follows up and just keeps flowing with things. Um, so yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. But I do see some of the stages making an appearance again next year's. Recycling some of them or having a variation of those
Sure.
stages. For instance, the octagon.
Yep.
It may not be exactly the same, but
Yep.
it's going to be very similar. I see that making a comeback. The retreat hell stage.
You know what? Let me cut you off real fast on the octagon. When I went back and looked at like pictures in this video that I saw of that stage was actually run wrong. So we the idea was to get people to shoot off that wobble platform.
Uh-huh.
And there was an actual forward a lateral limit stake, or board
Yeah.
behind that post. And if you stayed behind that stage was substantially easier because you could shoot
Mm-hmm.
out one port and move right to the other side and shoot the other port. And the idea was supposed to be in front of that, so you were cramped up in the front half of that box. And so if you go back and look at that, when I looked at the videos and pictures, everybody shot, but they never went up into the shooting area. Everybody shot that from out of the actual shooting area. They were shooting behind that line when they should have been in front of it, where it would have forced you into that port. So it would have behooved you to shoot off the wobble board, and that's why most people didn't shoot off the wobble board. Um,
Mm.
so that is for sure something that next year, or this year, whatever you want to call it, that will be a whole lot more um,
Deliberate.
managed. Yeah, that hey, no,
Yeah.
no, those are all misses, bitch. Because and I'm sure that was one of those things where just not to bag on an RO or whatever, but I think it's one of those things just wasn't clear enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the stage brief when we put that out there, or to go over there and watch and make sure people were doing it properly. And you know how it is once you run a couple squads through and they've not done it properly. Well, now you can't go back and punish everybody else.
Right.
Um, but that
Once
was one
it's
thing that I
ran
watched
one
about it. I'm
way.
like,
Yeah.
that's why
Once.
that looked so easy for a lot of those people. It should have been much harder.
Yeah. Yeah, once it's done for one person, you gotta be fair and equitable to them
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
But I mean, again, lessons learned.
yep.
I, some of the feedback I got, people loved Retreat Hell, people loved the Jungle Run, and
The
I see
reset
it,
one,
huh?
the reset stage.
Yes.
Yes.
The reset stage. Some people absolutely loved that, thought it was great. Some people were like, "This is fucking stupid," and it was generally. I mean, I'll just say it. It was some of the older crowd that
I'll say
don't
this:
like to reset.
everybody who bitched and didn't like that, none of them won any money.
Yeah.
None of those people won any money on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if someone said, "Hey, man, if you can win $100 here," if you knew that, well, I mean, if you looked at it from that perspective, if you do this fashion invest, you get $100. You would probably stop crying about, man, I've got to run around and run a whole 20 yards. I've got to, move my big fat ass and set targets up. It's like, dude, learn to laugh a little, learn to have a little fun, laugh at yourself, have a good time, will
Mm-hmm.
you? God
Yeah.
damn. No one's going to take you to, sign you up for the Navy SEAL Olympics, and they're going to, from this match, you're going to be, the next, John Wick.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun once in a while.
Yeah. No, I
So,
mean, and that's the greatest thing. If you can reset fast and you can shoot fast, you're winning $100 right there. I
mm,
mean, you have the potential to win $2,000 right off the bat.
2,500 if you win all 10 stages,
Yeah,
which nobody
yeah,
did.
no. Um, which again, like some people left there with some cash in their pockets.
I think the top person won. I think it was $1,700.
Cardenas.
That sounds right.
I think it was Joshua Cardenas.
And that because you have to be your division winner.
Yep.
And yeah, so yeah, no, Cardi B won 1,300.
Okay.
Um, and Fuentes won 1,200. I was wrong.
Okay.
13 was the most.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
13 was the most. Fuentes won 1,200. Yeah, that was the two big ones.
you know, and I look at it like, we call matches major matches and local matches, and then like, there came a time where everybody wanted to be a match director,
Right.
because nobody wanted to travel anymore. And so then you have this thing called major minor matches. And I would say ours was more of a major minor. It wasn't a full on major, but it
It's just a
wasn't,
match. It's
yeah,
just an outlaw match.
yeah. And it was a
That's how
good
I look at
time.
it.
Like we had a lot for there being Maryland State Championship going on at the same time. I would say it was a resounding success.
I agree. I feel like again, if you paid 150 bucks to shoot a match and you won $1,300, um, I don't care what match you shot in the whole country this year.
Yeah.
That's that's a pretty good return on your investment.
Yeah. No,
And whether
absolutely.
you shot Maryland State the day prior, even if you won, you at best got a WWE belt,
Mm-hmm.
which are pretty cool,
Yeah.
but 1,300 bucks covered every bit of expenses you had for both of those matches.
Yep.
So um, that's what I say. I don't care about major, minor, names or whatever you want to call it on top of it. I think it's a good match. I think it's a good format. I think if you had, I would love to see more people, and if we could, double the amount of people signing up for it, your prizes would go up.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good format, good match.
Yeah. No, so I think we've covered a fair amount on the match we just put on back in September. So we're looking to do this match again come June.
Let me add one more thing.
Okay.
One other thing on this year's match was a few people complained about was repainting targets.
Oh,
And
yes.
and that's one of those things where some people, and that's a decision I made very early on not to repaint. Um, and a lot of that it's kind of twofold. I mean, I watched like Andy Horner matches where everything's painted gray,
Mm-hmm.
and he don't repaint by like once a squad.
No,
And
he doesn't repaint at all.
yeah, and so I looked at it and I thought, you know what? This is falling steel. It's all right in front of you. Um, I just have a hard time with the argument that people say, "Well, I couldn't see this and I couldn't see that." I feel like, and I honestly feel like if you're saying things like that, that's a cheap excuse for your performance. If
Mm-hmm.
you're saying I couldn't see that big 12-inch pepper popper that's all red except for really the 23 bullet strikes that are across it, you couldn't see that thing. Um, I think it's a weak excuse for why you didn't perform well there because the people who did perform well, I think they don't really give a shit. When I go shoot just to play or practice out there, I don't repaint anything ever the whole day. And so that's one of the things that I know some people didn't like, that they wanted like a nice glowing white presentation when it was their turn to shoot. Um, and it's one of the things I don't care about, but it is one of the things that, this time around, we'll paint your fucking targets.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put some paint out there so they can get repainted. Um, so that's one thing we'll absolutely address this year round. We'll repaint your trash. And I think there was one other thing that someone like the double Mag Star, the Mag Star Deluxe target where people shot through the low presentation, through the low port. And some people, took the high target first because once they got down there, some of them could. And in typical fashion, some people complain saying, well, you're shooting over the berm. And it's like, well, okay, so I could what, DQ you all for saying you shot over the berm or because you didn't want to shoot the bottom target? Or the other solution is, well, I'll just make the port smaller farther back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not one of those things where um, we'll take a look at that too. And if the people who felt like that was a safety issue, um, yeah, we'll address that for sure. We'll make sure that kind of thing isn't possible in the future. But at the same time, I'd look at them and say, if you were that worried, why'd you still shoot the stage? If it
Mm-hmm.
was that big of a deal to you, and you're that worried that you were going to shoot I don't know, an elk four clicks away, why'd you still shoot it?
Yeah.
Why didn't you bring that up to the RO during the squad, or why don't you bring it up to me or to you or somebody? Why wait till it's all over and then send that response into like mail
The
it to Lynn and
range.
Randy.
Yeah.
So, things like that. I'm like, okay, I mean, I can see your complaint. We could have addressed that right off the bat. But we all looked at it, and I didn't have a problem with it because of the location where things were. And it's like, yeah,
There's
you might
nothing
have
back
cleared the
there.
berm
It's
with one
nothing.
shot, but you're into 50-foot tall trees, and there's nothing back there that I know there's nothing back there because I know the area. Anyway, so and again, another thing, we will absolutely make sure that's not going to happen again. But at the same time, as a shooter, if there's something that you think is that big of a deal, then it's also your responsibility to bring it up. Don't wait until, next week and then send in your list of grievances. If you think it's a safety issue, well, then bring it up to your RO, your staff. So
Well, it also comes down to the fact that, we're all men, we're all grown men and women here. If you do have a problem, bring it up to the staff of the match. Like,
absolutely.
just don't hold it back. Like, hey, the only way I'm going to make this match better is by you giving me your grievances in person, not by you going to Lynn and Randy. Like, that doesn't accomplish anything. If you tell me what you are concerned about, I can make it better.
Especially in the moment,
Yeah.
especially if it's a safety thing. If you really feel that way, someone else might have the same complaint there or same issue and not say anything. And someone like, maybe we just didn't even see that. Maybe
Hmm.
we didn't. Um, but bring it up. Let us help you be at ease. But if you think it's a problem and you still went ahead and shot it, I
You
don't,
are
I
part of
just
the
feel like your
problem.
complaint is invalid at that point.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me that you think this is a safety issue, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time, taking that as serious as maybe you felt it was.
Yeah.
At the same time, I completely understand it's a valid complaint because I've been DQ'd for match for shooting over the berm. I
Hmm.
have. Um, but if you chose to take that target in that position and do that, well, you're kind of telling yourself that I should have DQ'd you then.
But again, somebody did bring, one of the ROs did, the RO that was working there was like, hey, is this okay? Yeah, it's fine. There's nothing back there. It's nothing but sprawling trees. There's no
Well, yeah,
people.
it's
There's
50
no,
foot trees
yeah, I
that
mean,
are right on the berm. It's not like there's
yeah,
like a clear area that goes into housing. It's like 100 acres
yeah.
of trees,
So
and
it's like,
your
I
your
knew
bullet
the
pack is
area.
in the tree at the berm.
Yeah. And I knew the area because I'd been back there. Like back in April, I did a run and gun and had to go
Yeah,
run back behind those berms. So
yeah.
I know what's back there and what's not. So I have a valid, reasoning of saying, hey, this is completely safe.
Yeah, I mean, valid argument for people who shoot matches. Like everybody's kind of trained, taught that
Hmm.
over the berm is bad, out of the impactor is bad, and I totally get it.
Yep.
Valid complaint. We'll absolutely make sure that you can't do that again. But like I said, you chose to shoot the top target and go that way. So in all rights, you should have been DQ for doing that.
Hmm.
That's that whole sticky situation where people are like, well, the target's there. I have my rights to shoot anything I want to. And it's like, well, no, you don't. That's just like transitioning, capping one off halfway through there. That's not an aim shot at a target.
Hmm.
So anyway, whatever. That's all I got from like, kind of returns we got on some of the feedback there that we'll address. But some are valid, some are valid that I don't necessarily think are super serious, and some are good points.
Yeah.
So there's
And
definitely things that like things to learn from and grow from and make better for next time.
oh, absolutely. And Go King, like throughout the match was coming up to us. It was like, he was like, hey, I think, maybe for next year do this. And honestly, he was bringing up some good points. And that's like running a military match and running a civilian match are two completely different things. So there's
Yeah,
two different frame of minds. And in many respects, running a civilian match is a lot easier, but then you're also dealing with people. Granted,
different
in the Marine,
personalities
yeah, granted, in the Marine Corps, you're dealing with people, but you have the protection of
of your
rank,
rank.
service, all that
Yes,
kind of stuff. And it's like, nope, this is what you're doing. Here, you're trying to appease the crowd, and
yeah, because it's
you
just you're
know
providing a service to a
yeah,
customer.
yeah, absolutely. So it's a different mindset. And you're taking,
In that vein, there was a situation where I think Capco was up there on stage one with the 30 targets, and someone went up there and he said, I want to say he said, you go ahead and make ready, or shooter ready, and the guy's like, yup, and
oh,
he went
his
on stage,
magazine fell
yeah,
out.
magazine dropped. He goes, oh, I need a reshoot, and he's like, no, you said you're ready, blah blah blah, and then the guy's making kind of a big stink about it, wanted to talk to somebody, and he I happened to be walking by, and he asked me, I'm like, well, what do you think? And he's like, well, he did this and this. I'm like, go ahead, buddy. That's your stage. Whatever you do, I'm backing you. I mean,
Hmm.
you do this for a living also. I mean, I look at that in my mind, if someone says, "Are you ready?" and you say yes,
No matter
from then
what match
on,
you're at, no matter what
100%,
match.
that is everything is on you now.
Hmm.
Don't give me any crap about your gear and equipment or whatever situation. You were asked, you rogered up. That's 30 mics. I mean, you rather than deal with that and just slap a new mag and go to work, you want to basically use a mulligan you didn't pay for.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, that's same kind of thing. But I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about like ROs and stuff like too. Like, no, that's your stage. If I didn't think you could make that decision for whatever the situation is, you wouldn't be ROing out here.
Hmm.
So anybody comes to shoot thinks they're going to go around the RO to hire. Yeah, probably not going to happen.
Yep. No, and I'd say we had a great group of ROs from the Marine Corps shooting team, everybody from them to Marcus, Brittany, everybody we had out there, professional, knew what they were doing. If they had a problem, they would get me or you over there, and we take care of it. And finding quality ROs is, having the right ROs. That's what makes or break a match.
Yeah,
I forgot one. Chris Wiseman, he drove up
Westman.
from North Carolina.
Yeah,
Yeah. Having quality ROs is extremely important because they make or break the match. Like,
yep,
yeah, we are the face, but they're really the face because that's who the people are really dealing with
yeah.
on a consistent basis. And they knocked it out of the park. They did a really good job. They were, easygoing, friendly, knowledgeable,
It's definitely a personality issue too. Like people
Mhm.
like who don't feel like they've got like an RO on their sleeve. Like I know more than you. I'm better than you. I'm the RO, so what I say goes. It's like you're right. That was a group of people who was very, accommodating to everything and everybody. Just easy going, not with that, talk down to you mentality, I felt like. And
Yep.
I walked around all day every day and, watched how things were going. So it was yeah, you're right. That was a solid group of dudes and
Yeah.
chick.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to come out an RO, the RO match is, or the RO registration is already open. I will drop it
There's
on
one person already
Instagram.
signed up for that.
Yeah, Marcus did. He hit me
Yeah.
up yesterday. He was like, "Hey, if you need any help ROing again, I'm in." So I sent him the link after I created
Yeah.
it, and he immediately registered.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
I already I already hit the Marine Corps shooting team up. Hopefully we see some repeat guys from
Yeah,
them coming out to help. But we'll see. I hit some other friends in the community. Chris Wiseman again. And some other people I know throughout the three gun world. And not to create division between the different sports, but I like having the three gun crew RO because they're more real down to earth, and they're not the guys who are looking to DQ anybody. We didn't have any DQs
you know
at
that's
all at the match.
that's
And
a great point. So I was gonna say too, is like because that's why I like the three guns side also because, um, and again, I know some phenomenal USPSAers, what do you want to call them, pistol only shooters. But the three gun side, I think they see so much more. They're exposed to a much different aspect of where it's a lot more, you're moving with rifles slung on your back and, just much more movement, much more, muzzle awareness, or this gun is completely unloaded. They treat it like a stick, not a, so people don't get
yep.
so stressed out about some little things. Like USPSAs are almost always looking for rules infraction, it feels like. And
Hmm.
it's one of the things that always annoyed me about that. Like I said, you always have people, not everybody, obviously not everybody, but there's absolutely people that are like, they're looking for you to break a rule. They're looking for the 180 trap. They're looking for that crap. And I think it just hurts a match. And the three gun
Absolutely.
side, those guys, they're much more comfortable with, a lot more moving parts. And I'm not saying that they're, oblivious to safety because they're very good at safety. Because I've watched guys, bear hug somebody in the middle of a live fire situation because of an unsafe situation that they see the shooter doesn't. So they're very hands-on and involved in what's going on. But I think like it's definitely a different
Culture.
the mindset, culture. Yeah, culture is a good word. Yeah, definitely different culture. Um, agreed. Totally agree.
Yeah. I mean, and not to say you know, we had zero DQs at our match. We had some stage DQs.
And that was the
But
plan all along. That was always the
yeah.
plan. I believe if you sign up and pay money to shoot a match, you should be able to shoot that match. Barring you shoot somebody in the chest. You
Hmm.
should. I mean, everybody's going to make mistakes, but that's how you get better and learn. But if you paid your money, you came out there and you make a mistake, you're right. you lose that stage.
Hmm.
And barring the fact that you put like do something substantially seriously, dangerously, or you do it over and over and over, you should be able to continue your match and shoot. Because 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 100, you watch guys who break a 180, they know it, they stop, they're like, oh fuck, they're like, I'm sorry, dude. And I think they're more appreciative, say, thank you. I mean, I had people thank me for letting them continue
Yeah,
rather
same.
than saying, hey, no, pack your trash and go home. Thanks for your money. I just don't believe in that. I don't like that.
One thing I will bring up, just because we're on the subject of shooters, and it doesn't have to do with DQs, but like having the required equipment. You know, one thing, and this will get addressed, and it'll get put. I will be sure to add this to the registration page. It is in the rule book though, so everybody should be reading the rule book.
Appendix
Is
carry.
Yeah, do not bring an appendix carry holster. Do not bring a suppressor
Right.
on your PCC.
Those were in
Appendix
the
carry.
rule.
Yeah,
They
it's
were in
in
the
the rule
rules.
book. Like, did we let them continue? Sure, but it's like, come on, guys. Like, help us help you.
That means every appendix draw, every single time you draw, you're flagging yourself. Every single
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you reholster, you're flagging yourself. Every fucking time.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
like no appendix carry, no suppressors. Like, you know, you have a guy having to shoot the stage twice because
Well,
the
people got to
timer.
understand the suppressors why the timers don't pick it up.
No.
That's why.
Yeah.
I get it. It looks cool.
But still, like, stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop
That's
it.
in the
Like,
rules. That already exists in the rules. Yeah.
yeah. But on to next year.
Yeah.
So we're already kind of in the initial planning phase for next year. Like we said, we're probably going to have some repeat stages. We're always going to have a speed shoot. You know,
Yeah.
maybe the targets are change. Something
Yep.
like that. Give them different targets rather than
Yeah. There's going
just
to be a
the
stand and deliver. Got to go fast.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
I like the idea of having a retreat hell. I think a lot of the guys like that because
Yep.
you're not running backwards, but you're retreating away
Yes.
from the front of the bay, and you're having to shoot fast, having to shoot around some type of barrier, and you're having to take a high value target shot, which
Yes.
can help you. You're not getting penalized for it, but if you hit it, you're getting time taken off of your
And
score.
and
And you
again,
could,
because there's money involved. So if
yeah,
you want to dump it and say I don't care about the money, go ahead.
yeah.
But you're right. Yep.
We're gonna have a jungle run, one or two jungle runs. We're gonna make it work somehow. On top of that, I'm getting my wish of we're adding a shotgun division.
Yes. Shotgun is
Um,
there.
so just so we clarify and say this outright right now, there's three divisions. There's pistol, there's shotgun, and there's PCC. Look, we're not doing an optics and an irons division. We're not doing a tube fed and a mag fed.
Right.
And PCC is PCC. Like we would make zero money off the match if we had to pay out all those divisions. But it's kind of a run what you brung. Like if you have
Right.
an open gun, bring your open gun. If you have an open shotgun, bring your open shotgun. Um,
Right. And to that point, we didn't make any money off the last match.
no,
But I'm not there to try to make a bunch of money. It's like I said again. For me, it's a marketing thing. It's a good time thing. It's a fun thing. But you're right. Run what you brung. And if you want to bring the most badass 7 to 8 9 thousand dollar
shotgun.
open pistol, go
Yeah,
ahead. But the guy last year is broke, and it
yeah,
cost him $1,000. If you
yep,
want to bring the most badass open shotgun, go out there. And I've watched those things over a decade have failures.
yes.
You want
And
to bring whatever you want, but you need to absolutely perform for 10 full stages, and you might have to shoot in uncomfortable positions, and it might not be conducive to have a big giant 18 round box fed mag sticking out of it. So those are things to consider. Run what you brung, but be prepared to, negotiate whatever stage.
yeah,
So
and it was brought up. Oh well, if there's going to be a shotgun division, and with Shotgun World Shoot coming up, maybe you guys should use IPSC rules. I'm sorry, but we're not going to do that. Like we're not affiliated with IPSC. We're not going to introduce a bunch of rules that we're not familiar with. This is an outlaw match where we are putting on a match for the people. Like
Right.
not we're not trying to cater to the 1% who are trying to go to IPSC Worlds.
And that
Like,
was like the question was like, can you make it a qualifier
yeah.
for
And
IPSC? And it's
yeah.
like, we did look at it. We looked at some of the rules and some of the requirements, and it's like I don't need to get involved with ROI stuff and people, approving stages. As soon as I see things like approving a stage, I'm done. I'm
Yep.
not. Yeah, you're exactly right. If the IPSC wants to pay me to put on a match, yeah, maybe it's worth it. But
Hmm.
that's not what it is. And
No.
so I hope that a lot of people will come shoot shotgun. And if they use that as a preparation or training tool for IPSC World Shoot, that makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, you're right. We're not going to build that around accommodating
The 1%.
IPSC rules because there's also two other divisions who are shooting, and I don't want to, accommodate anybody else's thing is what it comes down to. So
Hmm.
that might sound, kind of dismissive. It's not meant to be. It's just it's not what I'm trying to do. Not what we're trying to do here.
Right.
So
But the match is going, the main match, you can shoot the 28th or the 29th. We are not having a Friday shoot. Friday will be reserved for the ROs and the ROs only.
right,
Um,
because last year people, a bunch of people asked about can we shoot Friday because we want to shoot Maryland, and there's all this interest about shooting Friday, and I think 6 or 7 or 8 people actually signed up for it,
yep,
and so we then committed. I don't want to say resources so much to being there, but then all of a sudden, yeah, we had to be there and find a way to run, ROing the ROs and ROing the couple of people, and then half of them backed out, and so it became one of those things where like in all instances, everybody's got a lot of great opinions and ideas on what you ought to do this because this will be better. And then those same people aren't the ones who want to show up and do it. So
yep,
you're right. We're not doing that Saturday, Sunday. Um, but we're doing 12 people per squad instead of 10.
yeah,
So with any luck, there's plenty of opportunity and hopefully, those fill up. And hopefully I don't believe we're overlapping anybody else because we're putting ours out pretty early. Um, so there you go. You're right. No Friday.
yep. Um, and we'll see. It's during the summer. We're gonna try and bring the softball team back to.
So that's the idea. I've already put it out to them. I know they have a tournament that they're trying to do that weekend, and they're all stressed out about that. I'm like, hey, I hate to be a dick, but that's not my problem. I mean, that's my kid. It's my my kid's team. So
Yeah,
if she'll be mad that she won't be there if they play that tournament and actually sign up for it, they won't be there. But I know a couple other teams that could also come out maybe. So I'll put it out to some of them first, and I mean that's 6 months out. If we can't get one of the teams to come out and do their fundraiser, and they were very, and I'll say this too, they were very appreciative last year of being able to do that, and the return they made was very good. Even though, funny thing about that too is some of the feedback was like, we never got time to go over there and eat lunch. And I'm like, how the hell did you not have time to eat lunch when there was only 6 squads going on? There's all these ghost squads going on. You had time. You walked right by them. You guys chose as a squad not to stop and take a break.
yep,
You chose that
yep.
because all the ROs we took time to get them breaks, but you chose not to do it. And so
This next year
anyway,
we're
the
gonna
team
have a
was very
scheduled break.
appreciative of it, and they want to come back, and so we're going to get somebody out there to do it, whether it's one of the teams or we go find somebody. We'll take care of that. But I know that's one thing you also want to address about. We'll build that into the schedule.
Yep. We'll build that in the schedule. I kind of wanted to take a moment to, give more thanks. We already said thank you to Lynn and Randy. They were extremely accommodating. They were helpful. Like Lynn was down there every morning helping administratively, doing, getting her, T's crossed and I's dotted, with the
I thought.
insurance and everything. And then, I'd also, thank the team for coming out. And then, the shoot all the ROs. Thank the softball team. Um, there
Yeah,
was
they
somebody
had a
else.
blast. Even like when Alex went over there and worked with them and got to let them shoot some. They love that because I mean, this day two, they were all coming back. We want to do it again. The couple that came back both days, they had
Yeah.
a blast. They had a good time. The parents um, had a good time. They no, they were very appreciative of that as a fundraiser and just being out there and being around it for sure.
And somebody else, we already thanked the gentleman that came out to help during the week. But also
Yep.
throwing kudos to John. John Howell, he had freaking COVID and he was going into the shop cutting steel, and then he had a family emergency come up and he was still out there. He took care of his family emergency, but he was out there, helping build and do all that kind of stuff as
Yeah,
well.
people. Yeah, I was just saying that too. And people, I don't think people probably don't realize. You go back 5, 6, 8, 10 years. I used to make everything and do everything myself,
Hmm.
even 5 years ago. I mean, I everything left my shop I made for the last couple few years since he came back to the shop. I mean, everything that leaves that shop he makes. He does
Hmm.
all that stuff, and he goes in there and sometimes he'll get there sometimes 4 in the morning, because he might have something going late in the day. But it's not like he just says, "Hey, I can't make it tomorrow." He'll just come in at 4 o'clock and he'll work until he's got to go at maybe 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and he'll bust his ass. And so every single piece of steel in that match, he made all that stuff. And you're right, he had a family emergency too. I mean, it's like it seemed like he and I both have nothing but family emergencies this year. But man, his family emergency was like the day of setup,
Yeah.
and he still showed up out there. We're talking 2.5 hours from his house. He drove all the way out there to help set up. Before I even knew that happened, he told me, I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. What the hell? But he is one of those guys. He doesn't want things to fail. It bothers him, if something's going to fail, which is a good quality to have. But you're right. He made a lot of that stuff. He's absolutely one guy you can lean on to get things done. I wish he would have shot the match. We wanted to shoot it, but like you said, he had some COVID going on and some family stuff, and it just didn't work. And with any luck, we can get him out there this year to shoot some, because he's not a bad shooter. He wouldn't be last. He'd
No.
be in the middle of the pack, if he just showed up to play. If he put some effort into it, he'd do well. So
Hmm.
you're right. He's good on him.
Yeah. But other than that, I think we kind of covered everything. And we'll release more episodes as more information comes out as the match gets closer in June. Again, the dates for the match is the 28th and the 29th. You can shoot either day. It's a Saturday or Sunday. Um,
You can
you
shoot both
know,
days.
or
You can
you can
shoot all
shoot
three
both days.
divisions. You just can't shoot the same division twice.
Yep.
And same old thing, first time through is 160. Second time through is 135 for subsequent if you want to shoot all three divisions. Mulligans are back. I think mulligans are $25. What do you got on the website? Whatever's on there. If you want to buy mulligans to buy or reshoot, for a specific stage.
Yep, and it's
Um,
only one mulligan per division. You can
right.
you can register for two divisions. The first, your first division is going to cost 160. The second division is going to be 125. Mulligans are
135.
$25 a piece.
Yep.
And last year you would register, you wouldn't have to pay right on the spot, but you would get an invoice. This year we're doing it, just to make it easy and like all the other matches. You go on, you register, you pay right then and there.
Right. And a lot of
Um,
that is because what we found last year is, um, we'd send people an invoice and it would go to a junk folder, and they just never would see it, or what would happen, it would just kind of hang out there. So you're right. This year, when you register, pay when you register. And then there's a whole, go look on the website, look on there. It either there's an event link on the Facebook page. I'll go to the practice score page, go to the website. It's got a page that shows you information about dates when you can actually ask for refunds and times, like every other match. That's all standard stuff that's on there. But yeah, you can sign up now. I think the registration date opens on the 16th, if I believe.
it
So you
is
got,
the
which is next
16th.
next Monday, a week from tomorrow,
Yep.
I believe is when that is. You can start registering. Um, and like we'd said before, not going to put out $40,000 of steel if we have 20 shooters. So, the more people that are signing up earlier, we will temper what we're going to do. But it's going to be 10 stages, and you could probably count on being a step up from what we did this year, just because of some of the life situations I had to deal with this year at the end there. So this year would be a little bit more focused and a little bit more, should be a little bit bigger, a little bit better.
And I'll be starting from the beginning this time,
So
not at the end.
for better or for worse, yes.
Yes. But other than that, I think that kind of covers everything. You know, I know I'm more or less breaking the time off from the podcast. This is getting released on a Monday. Come beginning of January is when I'm going to start putting episodes out again. They're going to be twice a month that I have episodes coming out.
Yeah.
I do appreciate all the listeners out there. We appreciate you. We hope to see, a larger crowd coming out to shoot this match. It's going to be a great time. There were a lot of lessons learned. There was a lot of fun to be had this past year. And we did thoroughly enjoy it, and I know the guys, all the ROs enjoyed having you there too. But other
Yep.
than that, that's all I have. Darren, do you have anything?
No, just like I said, it's a shorter timeline than last year. I think last year we put out it was 9 or 10 months out. This year it's we're 6 months out from now, 6.5 months till that match actually goes. The weather should be nicer, middle of the summer, going to be hotter, longer days. So, we didn't run into a time issue this year, which is why we're adding a 12th person in 10 squads because we won't run into time this year again.
Well,
Um,
I'll say this. We started shooting between 9 and 9:15 in the morning,
yeah,
and we had, I think on Saturday, we had the majority of the shooters out of there by
yeah,
around 2:30, 3 o'clock. And then
yeah.
on Sunday, I think the last squad probably finished at the latest 4 o'clock.
Yeah, and that also, will like we said, we're going to address is there was no lunch break in the Matrix. They ran straight through, so they ran 10 stages back to back to back to back because they just never took a break or stopped.
Yep.
So we'll build one in this year, so you could think on an hour later. But you're right. If it's middle of end of June, you're talking about getting dark at 9 at night. So you're not going to have there's not going to be a light issue. You will be done early. Um, you can shoot
Hydrate.
multiple stages. Yeah, hydrate. You can shoot multiple divisions same day. So we had people this year who shot all three divisions. You can shoot, same squad back to back. If you've got multiple people you want in the same squad, get them together and register or reach out to us and we'll block something off for you. But same old thing. You know, sign up soon, sign up early. Makes it easier to plan a lot of the stuff we're doing.
But other than that, again, we hope you enjoyed this episode and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Yes, sir.